Whoa! Hey guys, it's Saga Matani.
I am Abby here. I'm Financial Curry. No, you! I'm not hanging up first, you have to. Whoa! Hey guys, I'm from Sika Romani.
I'm Danny Hubbard.
Hey man, I don't know what done happened. I guess y'all must have caught amnesia in my absence. I ain't been gone that long, have I? Well, just for your reminder, how about the crown meet the throne right here?
Good morrow, and welcome to the evening coverage on Dash, your national source for podcast knowledge. Today, we will be focusing on how race and ethnicity plays a role in young adult literature. So, let's start off with some basic facts. Did you know that at least 2 million American children are of mixed racial descent and mixed-race marriages are on the rise?
No, I did not know that.
Well, according to a 1996 article in the Seattle Times, the number of interracial couples has jumped by 275% since 1970, compared to the 16% increase in the number of same-race couples during the same time period.
Yeah, Hamsika! I'm sorry, it's just inequality in young adult literature just gets me so angry sometimes. But that was almost 16 years ago. As diversity rises in our society, authors of young adult literature have to adapt their writing to reflect these societal conditions. And young adult literature, culture, society's perception, and economics can influence how race and ethnicity are portrayed by the authors and interpreted by the readers.
Depending on the ethnicity, cultures are portrayed in very different ways. One instance is the Muslim culture. The Muslim culture is often misunderstood and perceived negatively. According to a 2006 Washington Post ABC poll, 46% of Americans had a negative view of Muslim culture. Young adult literature has a serious chance of eliminating this negative connotation associated with the Muslim culture by portraying it in a positive light.
Abby, I'm so glad you brought that up. A similar issue comes up in Asian American young adult literature. According to the principle that is known as the invisibility of race, the model minority stereotype is based on the premise that most Asian American students are whiz kids who don't face academic or social problems at school.
Like the students at Tech?
Yeah, that's right, Sagar. In fact, some researchers claim that Asians benefit from positive racial stereotypes. However, Rachel Endo uses Lisa Yee's books, Millicent Min, Girl Genius, and Stanford Wong, Flunks Big Time, to show that this is actually not true. Endo states, Millicent is portrayed as a typical Asian, but upon further inspection, she is actually quite complicated, while Stanford is the antithesis of the stereotype. Yee offers this complex portrait of how two Asian American youth have differently responded to school norms to show that stereotypes are in fact not really helpful to Asian students.
Another stereotype that is presented in young adult literature is that family is very important in Asian culture. This presents itself in young adult literature when main characters try to balance being American but also making their parents happy by retaining some of their culture. Endo asserts that the bonds between family members is intergenerational relationships, particularly between grandchildren and grandparents, represents a central part of the Thai American youth's process of self-actualization. This demonstrates how the stereotype affects the plot of the majority of this kind of literature.
That's really interesting. Also, did you know that schools which do not have a large percentage of Asian American students often choose not to incorporate Asian American young adult literature in the curriculum because they think that it does not appeal to students? Two novels, Finding My Voice and Saying Goodbye, are Asian American texts that deal with contemporary issues. In both novels, the main characters are female who encounter several problems which seem to occur in various other young adult literature texts, such as trying to fit in, living above the influence, and questionable friendships. This brings about the possibility that the ideas that go into young adult literature are all universal.
In 2000, the U.S. Census found that of all the American children under the age of 18, 2.85 million were identified as belonging to two or more races. 38% of mixed-race individuals enumerated were under the age of 18, as opposed to the 26% of the total population, indicating that the mixed population is growing faster than the monoracial equivalent. The latest census found that the mixed-race Adolescents are the fastest growing youth group in the country. Since multicultural youth and adults make up such a large part of the society as a whole, it would be expected that their roles in young adult literature would represent their role in society. Instead, young adult literature of the past has held on to past stereotypes over several different minority groups.
The truly troubling part of young adult literature is that most characters are predominantly white. When a description is given of a character, readers automatically assume that the character is white. Black characters are only prominent in books about slavery and the Civil War, while Jewish characters have the same problem in that they are only important in books based on the Holocaust. Mulatto characters usually fit into either the mulatto heiress or tragic mulatto characterization. Rarely are mulatto characters the main character, or given a first-person voice, as they are usually treated as objects, never as subjects.
This reminds me of a couple books that I read as a young lad. One was Twain's Pudd'nhead Wilson, and the other was Hurston's Their Eyes Were Watching God. Both works were considered abnormal and radical views about racial lines for their time. American Indian characters are very seldom written about due to issues on political correctness and whether or not the author is a real Indian. When they are written about, they are usually classified through crippling stereotypes and are portrayed as side characters. All black characters seem to be the same, children at the hands of white men. Yet, these children do not span both race characteristics. They are mainly subjected to the stereotypes of the black community.
Have you ever thought about the minor presence of mixed-race characters too?
No, I didn't think of that, Sagar.
Well, very seldom are mixed-race characters the products of interracial marriages or relationships. The characters are usually set and portrayed as one race. The setting for the novels also centers on the typical American culture. This trend in young adult literature has not gone unnoticed by the general public, as race and equality have come to center stage in popular culture. Many readers hold the opinion that there needs to be more stories where the color of the child wouldn't make any difference in the storyline, and I say I have to agree. However, many people say that diversity in books needs to be changed, but they are complacent.
To further accentuate your point, Rhys Brennan, an Irish panelist, challenges authors by contending that writing with attention to the different world people see and the different issues they face makes writers better, and with luck, it can make the readers see a different world. Gradually, conferences and speaking tours are being organized to convince authors to write differently and to highlight the diversity that needs to be present in young adult literature through characters of broad mixes of races, ethnicities, sexualities, and physical abilities.
That's really important, Abby. Now let's move on to the fact that the illustration of race and ethnicity in young adult literature is also significantly linked with economic factors and pressures. The prominence of white characters in young adult literature is a vital part of how diversity is conveyed to the readers. It is often found that books with images of non-white characters on their covers don't sell nearly as well as books that have covers with white characters on them. This epidemic is what is known as whitewashing. As a result, students and schools are not purchasing books that involve minority characters. Isn't that crazy? Overall, we have to look at young adult literature as a business, and if people aren't buying the books, the market is recessive, and the authors are desensitized.
Also related to whitewashing, did you know that 5 of the top 10 bestsellers for young adult books for the HarperCollins feature a white female on the cover? For example, in the popular young adult literature novel The Hunger Games, which I'm sure we've all read, by Suzanne Collins, Rue, one of the main characters, became a publicized issue because of her African-American identity in the movie and book.
Wait. Hold up. You guys aren't even going to believe what I'm about to drop down right here. Publishers plan to have a white model stand in for Rue's black character until they gave in to Collins' objections and public outcry. This displays the pressing concern for race and ethnicity in young adult literature to become more diverse and accepted by readers. Protagonists and Americanized settings are now considered normal, while black protagonists or a Middle Eastern setting may seem odd. Finally, the economy is a strong driving force behind all young adult literature. Young adult literature is meant to entertain and sell. Thus, the authors and publishing companies must consider this.
Furthermore, nowadays, literary diversity is becoming more and more important. As the population increases, only a slight growth has been seen in the number of children's and young adult books published that explore mixed-race family themes. The need persists and will grow with each passing generation. A negative aspect of this need is that sometimes publishers and writers rush to fill the demand and the market floods with less than outstanding work. The quality writing about minority characters can change the success of young adult novels while simultaneously educating readers with more diverse perspectives.
In conclusion, culture, society's perceptions, and the economy all influence race and ethnicity in young adult literature. Specific to culture, in young adult literature, the main central ideas around the genre vary significantly. This is seen when comparing young adult literature based on Muslim culture to young adult literature based on Asian American culture. The societal perceptions affect what is expected out of young adult literature today. For example, what appeals to the largest majority, which happens to be white Americans.
This concludes our podcast for tonight. Thank you for turning into Dash, your only source for young adult literature goodness. And remember to tune in next week as we discuss what the sticky stuff under your desk really is. Is it gum? Maybe. You'll have to wait until next week to find out. Thank you, and good night.
Psycho, I'm liable to go Michael. Take your pick, Jackson, Tyson, Jordan. Game 6, fall so hard, got a broke clock. Rollies that don't tick-tock. All the Mars that's losing time, hidden behind all these big rocks. Fall so hard, I'm shocked too. I'm supposed to be locked up too. You escape, but I escape. You